Hela is a top-tier duelist in Marvel Rivals, a duelist whose output is directly proportional to your skill in aiming in shooters. A lot of characters in this game rely on different skill sets, like mobility or input juggling, animation cancel tech, a general game sense, and the ability to read the room, target prioritization, and more. But Hela is actually fairly straightforward. If you can click heads, you can be a genuine menace. Now, as always, there's a lot more nuance to it than that, and in today's video, we'll be breaking down how to best leverage her kit in specific situations so you know how to get the most mileage out of her. As always, with my guides, there's a couple of quick disclaimers. First, I think it's impossible to make a halfway decent guide if you've barely played the character, so I wait until I have at least 20 hours under my belt with any given hero before I even think about working on or editing a guide. Second, we won't be reading off ability descriptions you can read. We'll talk about nuanced application of those abilities. And finally, there will be almost zero practice range footage in this video, as I think the best guides show you actual gameplay against actual players actually trying to kill you. So with that established, let's dive in. Alright, first things first. What's her core gameplay look like, right? What's her general vibe? Well, Hela's sort of like a hybrid sniper. She's more like a DMR, designated marksman's rifle, like a diet sniper. She can two-tap any squishy enemy with headshots much faster than Black Widow can put enemies down, but she also has the ability to do obscene burst damage on big tanks like the Thing or Venom or Groot. But what really sets her apart is her delayed damage. And I think the best Helas out there are the ones who really know how to leverage that delayed damage to queue up burst damage down the line. I think she works best not on some weird off angle or far away in a sniper's perch, but rather right on the back line with your healers. That's because her ability to drop divers is severely underrated. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, I feel like everyone thinks of Hela as the anti-flyer counter pick, right? Like if you have an Iron Man, Storm, Human Torch, that's being a pain. You make that Hela swap. And that may be true. Like, she's great at taking down flyers, but I feel like everyone completely sleeps on her ability to wreck divers. There's going to be a ton of gameplay in this video that shows that skill off, okay? There are matches in this video where I forced Spider-Man's and Iron Fist's to actually swap off to a different character because we don't let them get anything done at all. And I'm not just talking about one match. It's not like a random thing that happened once in the 20 hours I was playing her. It's a constant thing. In this gameplay, there's like 5 matches where Spidey's swap. There's 3 where Iron Fist swap. 1 where Magic swaps. If you're paying attention, you'll notice that. And that's really where I want to start with this video because I think it's going to benefit you the most. As a Hela, you need to know how to defend yourself from divers. So let's talk about that. We'll start with Iron Fist. Guys, Iron Fist tends to come at you head on. Okay, so it makes it easier to hit your primary shots on him, okay? His punches, they sort of lunge forward towards you. He's actually a fairly straightforward kill, but people make one huge mistake, okay? They shoot him when he's yellow. Look at this. I'm going to prime him on the approach. This is what they do, okay? They'll take a hit or two. Once they get close to you, though, they're going to activate their parry ability. Listen, don't freaking shoot him. Okay, this drives me crazy when my teammates start shooting an Iron Fist that's diving me, because you want to wait that animation out. And once he starts throwing punches again, that's when you fire back. But if you shoot him while he's blocking, okay, you will double his health for him. So don't do it. Prime him, bait out the parry, wait, and then finish him off, okay? And there are 2 other things that you should be doing in these fights up close. One is using your E ability, Soul Drainer. We're going to talk about that more extensively later, but definitely hit them with this stun ability so you can line up a free shot. Second, you should be meleeing as well. I like to shoot melee sometimes when they're up in my face, right? Another thing to note, if they sneak up on you and they get in a free hit, you just didn't see them coming, use your shift ability called Astral Flock to fly towards your teammates or towards a health pack to give yourself some space and time to retaliate. But what about Spidey? Okay, so with Spidey, you got to remember that he's going to be in the air for most of the fight. He's pretty easy to prime on the approach, but if he sticks a tracker to you, that's when you're going to want to go into your bird form and fly away so that he can't zip to you for a free combo. And when you stun him, try to stun him with your E ability by hitting him directly. Okay, usually we throw it on the floor at their feet, but he's usually high enough off of the floor that it just won't tag him. So wait for the dive and then smack him with the Soul Drainer stun to get in some free damage. But when you fight enough Spideys, you're going to start to understand their movement a bit better. They tend to have big swings and zips, followed by a brief pause in their movement. You got to bait out and wait for those pauses as they pop up in the air and hang there after an uppercut or after a zip, and they kind of just float there for just a second or two. That's when you can do the most damage to them. This Spider-Man here, I killed him like 4 times in a row, and he got so tilted that he dove on me and tried to solo ult me, because he's like, I gotta kill this freaking Hela! I shouldn't be dying to a sniper! And that's just, we use Astral Flock and fly away, and then he's just over there ulting the air like a goofball. And yes, for the record, he did not end up staying committed to Spider-Man for the duration of this match. Alright, let's move on and start breaking down her kit. Let's talk about her primary fire first. This isn't rocket science, guys. It's called Night Sword Thorn. It does 70 damage to the body, 140 damage to the head. That means 2 headshots will deal 280 damage. It drops anything that's relatively squishy. Fall off starts at 18 meters though, but it only drops to 80% damage at max drop off. That means it still does really good damage from downtown. But that being said, this goes back to positioning like I was talking about earlier. Don't be off in Narnia trying to snipe from miles away. Okay, be near your healers, behind your front line, supporting them. This primary fire is great at getting a key pick on a healer, so you'll see me do that a ton in the gameplay of this video, where I find the healer behind the tank, right? I put them down with a few well-placed shots. Now our front line is way stronger with 1 less healer supporting the enemy. But your primary fire is also great at picking off key duelists, like flyers, especially Hawkeyes as well, are pretty easy to drop since they tend to move slowly with a drawn bow trying to line up that perfect shot. Once those key duelists and healers are off the board, then you can do big burst damage to tanks as well, since their hitboxes are as big as dump trucks. But let me give you a goal here with your primary fire. Okay, listen up. You can be a fine Hela if you get 40% accuracy with your primary from start to finish in a match, okay? That should be goal number 1. Get to the point where you're landing 40% of your primary shots. You can be a good Hela with 50% accuracy. So that's goal number 2. Get that accuracy up to 50% by the end of the match. But you can be a dominant Hela if you can consistently hit 60% and up for your accuracy at the end of a full-length match. Okay, these are the matches where I'm doing the most damage in the game while having the most final hits in the game, and it's not even close. A little advice. You only have 8 shots before you have to reload your primary fire, so do not spam these shots. Get in the habit of taking your time to make sure your shots are going to land. If you spam, you're going to die a lot, and you're going to miss a lot. You'll also let a lot of people get away, as you'll be forced to reload, and they'll have a window for healing. So pace your shots, then increase your rate of fire as you get more accurate with her and your aim starts to improve. A couple of quick side notes before we move on. Your primary attack is great for taking down Namor squids for your team, so make sure you do that. It's also great at eliminating Loki runes and clones, so do that too. People often avoid doing these things because there's no glory on the final screen for doing it. They just assume somebody else is going to do it. But it's insanely helpful for your team and for you if you just choose to be the guy that does that dirty work, okay? So swallow your pride and do it. Also, Hela loves having a good thing on her team. A good thing is constantly knocking enemies up into the air for you to get literally free headshots on. It's like playing whack-a-mole. I love having a great thing on my team, so take full advantage of that too. Moving on to the Soul Drainer ability. This is a big part of your kit, okay? It's on a short 10-second cooldown, so use it liberally. This spell has a 3-meter spherical radius. It will pull anything affected by it into the center of its explosion. It'll deal 40 damage, and it will stun enemies for a brief 1/3 of a second, basically. But it will also interrupt anything they're doing that can be CC'd. So it will cancel their ultimates if they are in the middle of casting them. So it'll stop an Eye of Agamotto. It'll stop a Spider-Man ult. It'll stop the Thing's ult, Wanda's ult. Literally anything that can be CC'd, the Soul Drainer will interrupt it. So keep that in mind. It's also great at disrupting combos that a lot of diving duelists rely on. Okay, can throw off Black Panther's Vibranium Mark chaining, for example, and leave him with no way to get out quickly because he doesn't have a dash anymore. It's also great at disrupting tanks who are grouped up together on the payload. Yeah, basically chuck this thing at everything and everyone as often as you can. In Season 2, they reduced the cooldown on it so you can toss it more, so take advantage of that. Soul Drainer is also one of your best ways of protecting yourself against divers. So wait until magics teleport and then drop it, right? Wait until after the parry animation on the Iron Fist and then drop it. Hit Spidey with it at the top of his uppercut, okay? I believe in you. You gotta learn how to be disciplined and patient with Hela above all else, okay? You know the phrase, handle your shit, okay? I know it sounds reductive, but the best Helas in the game are the ones who can handle their shit, okay? They're not always begging for your help when they get dove. They know their teammates are busy with the front line, so they put on their big boy pants and they handle their shit. More so than any other character I have played in this game, Hela just needs to be able to solve her own problems, and honestly, it's super satisfying when you can. Quick side note, Soul Drainer absolutely wrecks the environment, so if there's a wall that you want to open up to get a new angle, slap it with a Soul Drainer. Okay, next up is the ability Piercing Knight. This is one of my favorite parts of her entire kit, okay? On PC, this is your right click. It creates 4 thorns that spawn behind Hela. After a brief delay, they fire out in a sequence, not all at once, which is important for aiming it. You kind of treat it sort of like a hose. They'll stick to anything they impact, and then after a few seconds, they'll detonate. When they initially strike something, they'll do 10 damage each, but when they detonate, they'll do 35 damage each on explosion. It used to be 30 damage, but it got buffed in Season 2. Now, when these thorns shoot out, they are not hit scan. In fact, they're relatively slow. Okay, they travel at 80 meters per second, same speed as Iron Man's primary fire. For comparison, Spider-Man's web shot that attaches spider tracers, that projectile fires at 120 meters per second, much faster. So you will have to lead your shots against mobile targets, but ideally, you want to either throw these head on at like an enemy tank or into a group of enemies all clustered up. They don't do crit damage, just aim for center mass. Or you shoot them at the enemy's feet, or you shoot them at your feet when you know you're about to get dove by a melee enemy. That way, they detonate at their feet while they get up there and they're starting to punch you. The floor is now lava. They start to detonate under them. It could panic them, make them run, but more often than not, it just tees you up to do big damage in a short amount of time. Now, this ability is on a lightning fast 8-second cooldown, so spam the heck out of it, okay? Throw it at tanks, throw it at Emma shields, Strange shields, Groot walls. I chuck this ability at anything in front of you that's big. But one of the things that makes this ability so freaking dangerous is the fact that it's delayed detonation. It's delayed damage. Let me talk about why. Now, when you attach these Piercing Knight thorns to an enemy, they don't feel the impact of that damage just yet, right? They only do 10 damage on impact. It's like stored up damage that's going to catch up to them in a few seconds. Now, what does that do? Well, it creates a unique opportunity for you to trick them into thinking it's safe to stay and fight, okay? Technically, if you lodged all of these into them, you've got 140 damage right there, but it's just not done yet, okay? It's there, it just hasn't applied itself yet. Let's say you then follow it up with 2 direct hits from your primary fire. Before this detonates, you throw it out, you lodge them into the tank. Now, they haven't really taken any damage. You go 2 direct hits from your primary fire, so now they're anywhere between 140 and 280 health down. They're starting to think about how, this might be a good time to sort of back off, get some heals. They just got shot twice by a Hela, but then, out of nowhere, wham! They get slammed with an additional 140 damage as those thorns start to explode on them. So they just went from everything's fine to everything is verifiably and quite urgently not fine. Okay, then the panic sets in. So delayed damage is dangerous because it creates opportunities for what we call burst damage. Damage that's sequential can get out healed. Okay, if it's just like a trickle, 5 damage here, 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 that can be out healed. It's not a big deal. But you do 100 damage in one moment, that is a big deal, all right? It can't be undone rapidly, but doing all that damage in one moment instead gives the healers one really big problem to solve suddenly, right? Like, oh my gosh, this guy's at critical health suddenly. It also creates openings for your Vanguards to clean up your kills for you, okay? But there's one thing I'll mention about the delayed damage. This is a great way of making sure Bruce Banner doesn't escape. When he starts de-hulking and turning back into Banner, he's invincible during that animation, so you go ahead and you lodge all of those thorns into him while he's shrinking down to Banner. And then, as soon as he finishes the animation, you slap him with that one free guaranteed headshot in that instant where he's vulnerable, and then 140 damage of exploding thorns suddenly hits him. He's immediately cooked, okay? Headshot, explosion, done. It's a free kill. Next up, Astral Flock. Not a lot to say about this one. It just got nerfed a little bit. They increased the cooldown on this ability from 12 seconds to 15 seconds. You hit shift, you turn into a bird, you fly away. You can't be targeted or damaged in your bird form, so you can escape literally any ultimate with this ability. You can get out of Jeff ults, Iron Man ults, Emma ults, Psylocke ults. I mean, you name it, you can fly out of it. You go pretty far in this flight, but you can also hit shift again to cancel it as soon as you're ready. A couple of interesting things to note about this ability: there's a slight delay on transforming and flying. So hit the input the second you feel like you're in serious danger, and then that's when you spin the camera to find a direction you want to fly to. So you don't need to look where you want to go and then hit the button. Just hit the dang button when you need to, and then swivel the camera and point to where you want to go. Also, your flight will follow the surface of any terrain you hit. So if you fly into a wall, instead of just flying in place, you'll actually start flying straight up the wall. This is great because it means you don't have to have laser accuracy with where you want to fly to. It will sort of course correct you for you. Now, as a tip, I don't recommend using this ability to push enemies or get into a different position unless there's no one around. Okay, you have a long cooldown. You want to save this ability as an escape option. If you use it too early to run someone down or get onto a roof, you may find yourself now a lone target for an enemy duelist, and you've left yourself with no safe way to get back to your team. So try to save this for those oh crap moments, okay? I can tell you, as someone who has 14 Lord characters now, other players will absolutely notice when you've used your flock. They'll know it's on cooldown, and they absolutely will pounce on you when they know that you have no choice but to stay and fight. So be careful about when you use this ability. Moving on, let's talk about Hela's super awesome passive ability called Nostrand Crowstorm. This ability, named after, I think it's like the heathen hell of the Viking gods, I don't know. Anyways, this ability makes it so that any enemy you defeat, either with a final blow or just as a general KO that someone else finished off, right? Those enemies will leave behind a crow at the place of their death. After 1.8 seconds, that crow will explode in a 5-meter spherical radius, dealing 80 damage to anything nearby. I love this ability so much. In fact, there are a handful of hexes in this gameplay of this video, and one of them only happened because the crow exploded and killed a healer next to the duelist I had just eliminated. But this happens literally all the time. It's free damage. In choke points or on payloads where enemies are clustered up, they're packed together tightly, you'll get a pick, and then there will be an explosion that will do big damage to everything around it and prime targets for easy kills afterwards, or it will outright kill enemies who are already low. This is amazing when coupled with teammate ults like The Thing's, Doctor Strange's Eye of Agamotto, Groot's ults, because these immobilize enemies and bring them closer together, right? That splash damage is no joke. And you can start chaining crows as you keep killing enemies too. So just remember that when you get a KO, look at the body and see if anything is close to it, because that's an opportunity, right? If there's another enemy nearby, then stay engaged, knowing you're about to get a huge chunk of 80 damage that could turn this fight into an easy win if you stay and shoot the right enemy. Again, this is all about delayed damage, right? It creates opportunities for big bursts that can't be out-healed. All right, let's start winding down this video. I know these get long. I don't want to waste your time, so try to be succinct about all this stuff. But a couple of final notes here. Hela does have slow descent. Okay, if you hold the jump button, you'll fall slowly. This makes landing shots from the air much easier. You can always fly straight up with your Astral Flock ability when someone dives you, and then slow fall back down to earth while shooting straight down on their heads. You also have one of the most criminally slept on team-ups in the game. If there's a Loki or a Thor on your team, you can revive them when they die if you just get a final hit before their respawn timer expires. This happens more often than you might think, especially if you're a good Hela and you're landing your shots. But even if Thor and Loki are alive, you'll still get some great use out of this team up, because anytime you get a final hit, your Thor and your Loki will immediately get 50 bonus health, and that can stack up to twice for a total of 100 health. I love playing near a good Loki because we both benefit greatly here. I'm constantly giving him free health. He's constantly supplying me with rune pools of healing to get easy wins against divers. It's sort of a reciprocal, symbiotic relationship. I can also prioritize the targets that Thor is attacking, shooting over his shoulder to help eliminate his enemy and give him health to survive the fight and go find another target. And lastly, let's chat about her ultimate. Make sure you start your ultimate from high ground. You can always fly up in the air with your flock ability and then activate it, but you don't want to be low to the ground or hit your head on a low-hanging ceiling. Make sure you look up to see if you can even see anything from where you're going to end up before you cast your ultimate. I've seen so many Helas pop their ults and then fly up into some odd crevice in the ceiling, and they're just stuck up there throwing big damage at unbreakable walls like a derp. Don't do that. People will laugh at you in the game chat, and we both know how fragile your ego is, so don't do it. But also, if you start at low ground and fly up to do your ult, an enemy Hela could then, in response, cast her ult from a higher elevation point on the map, and then they'll be over your head. Why does that suck? Well, it sucks because you can't shoot up in your ult. You can only shoot down. So if someone is higher than you are, you're cooked, okay? That could even be like a Human Torch or an Iron Man that just flies up over your head and beams you, and you're helpless to shoot back because you can't shoot up. So if someone is higher than you, you're done, and then you'll fall back down to earth, suddenly vulnerable. So I don't recommend popping this ult when you're the only person on your team that's engaged at that moment, okay? You'll just get beamed immediately. You want your teammates there to help divvy up the aggro. Alrighty, I think we've covered everything I wanted to cover. In closing, let me just say that Hela is so freaking good in the hands of someone who can aim, hit, scan attacks well. But if you can't aim well, I still think you should try her out because you'll be forced to get better. Okay, pace your shots. Only take the good shots instead of spamming and missing a bunch. If you force yourself to play Hela for a considerable amount of time, you should definitely start to see improvements with your aim and target tracking. Thanks so much for watching the video today. If you enjoyed it, would you let me know by leaving a like on the video, as that's the best free way to support the content right here on YouTube. And consider subscribing for additional Marvel Rivals content. You can always subscribe directly to my Rivals Guides playlist if you just want to get notified when my deep dive guides go live. Thanks so much for your support. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.